We're going to have Curse versus Factset for tonight's game. Should be a really exciting game. I've been looking forward to something like this since we pretty much started here this season. Factset is an extremely solid team, and Curse obviously is very rooted into the esports scene, so they all should absolutely have an idea of what is quite going on. But the bans have already gone through really quickly, actually. Cassiopeia, Ramus, and Swain being banned out by Curse, actually spelling out CRS as it stands. And then Shen, Jax, and Darius on the side of Factset banned out. So Curse first picking that Jarvan. So it looks like it's probably going to be a Jarvan jungle. I mean, of course it could be... In actuality, it could be a mid or a top, but we'll see how that one turns out. Suja and Zazimash picking up Singed and Misfortune. I'm absolutely loving this pick, too. Anyways, so Blitzcrank and Vlad locked in for Curse. As well as Ahri and Nocturne on the side of Factset. So it does look like it's going to be a Nocturne jungle, which absolutely means it should be a Singed top lane, of course. The other big deal is that you've got the Ahri going up against the Vladimir. Hubert and Mega Milk's going to be locking in Irelia and Ezreal for the side of Curse, so that is going to be mid lane Vladimir and a jungle Jarvan to lock that one in. And last but not least, Extendo Hugs going to be locking in Lulu for the support on the side of Factset. So just take a look down the roll. Having an Ezreal Blitzcrank lane against a Misfortune Lulu, that's going to be a rather interesting lane. I mean, you've got the standard, you know, you've got... I'm a little surprised that Blitzcrank kind of got that far through the bans, but I mean, when you have you know, Shen, Jackson, Darius banned out, it looks like they're actually target bans on top of that. Because Curse's top lane, Hubert, is extremely strong. He was previously on Curse EU, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, looks like the game's going to be starting in about 3 minutes. But let's run down the lanes again. We've got Vladimir in that mid lane versus Ahri. From the champion matchup alone, I'm not seeing any really big sort of glaring perspective. The only really big note we should watch out for mid lane is Ahri's a very good champion at engaging. If she can land a taunt on you, it's kind of it. You've already lost, you know, a quarter to a third of your health bar right there. You know, if the engage goes on any further, if you get ganked at all, it's a really bad position for you to be in. The other big deal though is that Vladimir, with his ultimate combo, with his ultimate with Ezreal too, that's going to be really big for that late game kind of team fight situation. He's going to be able to amplify all of the damage that Ezreal does out, and then, you know, even Irelia, she's obviously a very strong tanky champion, but she's going to get in there, and you can't really ignore her, especially when you've got something like a Vlad ultimate taking away on yourself. But he's going to be able to use that pool and get away from the engagements that Quaker Oats should be able to, or should be trying to fight for in that mid lane. It's really going to be really interesting to see. Vladimir, obviously one of those really big late game heavy champions, something you pick to be very useful mid game and very useful late game at this sacrifice for an early game. The other big deal to note out is that since they have Blitzcrank and Ezreal, it kind of does round out that sort of early game background that they need. Ezreal's very strong with the poke aspect, and then as soon as he can get, you know, level 2 and use that essence flux to get out of situations very easily, there's really not a whole lot you can do to him. The other problem though is that with Irelia as well, they are going for the heavy endgame styled composition, or at least that mid-game fed style composition that they might be going for. So Factset might have an opening with this side because you have Misfortune, who's very, very strong at harassing. You've got Ari, who's actually pretty decent all throughout the game. I mean, yeah, of course, the later the game goes on, the more she's going to have a little bit more burst, but the fact that once she gets a couple of skills in, you know, she kind of shines really early on. Once she gets a taunt and you know, her Q, that's a lot of damage itself, as well as her W. So there's a really, really solid lane there. The other thing we're seeing though is that because Curse is taking Jarvan and for the jungle, and then Factset is going to be going in with that Nocturne, it looks like Curse is going to have a little bit more of a tank composition, and I do say tank rather than tanky. Tanky champions are obviously champions that just build a lot of health, build a lot of armor, build a lot of magic resist, and they just become tanky. But tank champions alone can get in and control the flow of the fight. It's not so much that they're really, really big hitters and they really do a whole lot specifically to take someone or an entire team down. It's more or less just that they can get in there and they can really sort of mess up the way that you want the fight to go. So looking at that, you know, you've got Blitzcrank, that's a lot of crowd control himself. You've got Aurelia, she can really get in on top of your carries, and you really have to actually focus her down. And then you've got Jarvan for the knock-up and the Cataclysm. It's a really, really solid composition where Nocturne is going to actually be able to just jump into your back line. And Blitzcrank should be having a pretty easy time peeling that one off. The only really big deal, though, is that you've got Singed as well to worry about, and Lulu's going to be able to actually keep them pretty solid. So rather than having, you know, one or two champions that are actually the tanks, it looks like Factset is going for a really sort of team-centric composition. But we're going to be getting into the game here in just a minute as things start to load up, and we are getting in. So it is going to be Factset versus Curse. Factset so far in the league going, let's see, they have 5 wins and 2 losses here during Season 3. So they're really a strong contender for that top side, you know, to take home that $5,000 at the end to donate to charity for that one. I believe they have selected out the Camp Rising Sun for their selected charity. The other big deal, though, is that Curse, you know, they're kind of a little bit further down the list, but they really have a very strong just team in general and a background for that. They've gone 4 wins and 3 losses, so a little bit further behind, but not so much that, you know, it's obvious that they have no chance. No, they're absolutely in that contender to take this home. So we're going to be getting into the game. So in the top right corner, we've got on the red side, we've got Factset. Singed up in the top lane, going to be played out by Suja, the team captain. Meanwhile, Zazimash is going to be playing that 80 carry bottom lane. Quaker Oats going to be in the mid lane with Ari. Dragon Ball Z is going to be the jungler for their team today, playing that jungle Nocturne. And last but not least, on Factset, we've got Extendo Hugs playing out Lulu support. Meanwhile, in the bottom left for Curse, we've got Nuis picking up the jungle Jarvan. And then Tonpu going to be on that support Blitzcrank. It looks like they've got an engage happening here during the during the early game. Quaker Oats getting really low. Flash is coming out from both members, though, as he was able to get out of that one really handily. So very good job there by Ari getting out of that pretty handily. Anyways, we got Tonpu playing that support Blitzcrank in the bottom lane. We've got Liquid playing that mid lane. Vladimir Hubert is going to be up on the top with the Aurelia, and then last but not least, Mega Milk's going to be playing 80 carry Ezreal. So looks like the red side blue buff has been warded down. Suja coming forward to check here. Actually, he could get caught out, getting hit by a few of the members. He's going to have to ghost away. They've actually burned 2 summoners in this invade. They may not have gotten any kills, but it looks like they've established a pretty solid control over the jungle. They've got the entire enemy jungle warded out, so they should have a pretty easy time knowing exactly what's going on. And then the big deal, though, is that they burned the Ghost from Suja and they burned the Flash from Quaker Oats, but it looks like they might be going in for another invade here. This bush is warded, so they should be spotting this one out, but it looks like Curse is actually going for a lane swap as well. Pings are going down, noticing that there's the Aurelia down here at the bottom side. I wonder, I'm just wondering if the lane swap was actually a response to having the Singed have his summoner be blown, but it looks like they're going in here to the blue buff. Now that was a 3v3 fight, so they might actually, they could have actually done something about this quite yet, but it looks like they're just going to give up their own blue buff and play it safe rather than try to make something big happen. We'll see how this one turns out. It's obviously better just to give up, you know, a single blue buff than to maybe give up a kill this early in the game, where someone is going to be losing out on a lot more from that one, and someone else is going to be benefiting, you know, completely from that first blood money. Hubert here in the bottom lane could actually get poked out, but now this is since they are running the 2v1 lane and they did swap this one out. It looks like Singed and Aurelia are both going to be having a bit of trouble. Hubert actually in the, or Nuis actually in the jungle, getting really low off of that red buff. But it looks like since they're changing this one out, I mean, they're both doing a pretty good job here, keeping or denying CS. Singed and Aurelia at this point have 0 creep score on both players. I mean, they cannot get close enough to last hit without losing a ton of health, and that's not where you want to be. The big thing to notice though is that Singed started with a red elixir. Instead of starting with a lot of regeneration from a lot of potions or maybe a crystalline flask and a couple of potions from there, he started out with the red elixir, trying to get an early advantage, and it might have actually worked against him here. With that red elixir, he really needs to actually sort of make things happen. Otherwise, he's not going to have the money be really useful. But he's taken a lot of damage under his own turret, and it looks like the health regeneration that he doesn't have may actually end up hurting him here pretty quickly. Hubert down in the bottom lane. Actually, there was a gank up there at the top. It was a pretty solid dive going up there, but Hubert down in the bottom lane, actually getting 10 CS right now. Into that one. 4 minutes into the game, first blood has gone down up at the top lane. It looks like they're focusing down on this turret pretty hard. Pings have gone down on the red buff and the doubles as well. I don't know if they're aware that this one has been taken though, and it looks like they're going to head up here. Mega Milks actually might be able to catch this one off. Liquid coming in with a little bit of damage onto Nocturne. Nuis actually launches over the wall to try to knock him up a little bit, but he's able to make it out alive on that one. Suja up at the top could be in a little bit of trouble though, so he does have to worry about that Blitzcrank pull. He cannot get close enough to you know, push the lane and last hit and really get himself into the game. He can't even get close enough to take experience, so he's really far behind. Even though they're running a 2v1 lane, actually there's 4 members up at the top lane, they're really pushing this turret down hard. But even though they're on his turret, basically, he can't get close enough to even keep up in levels. They're all 4 just barreling down on this turret, and it's pretty much exactly what they need to do. They need to take this small advantage early on. Tompu tries to land a grab down on the Singed, but he's a little bit too far away for that. And first turret goes down 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Top lane turret has gone down 7,300 gold for Curse to 6.2 for Factset. Down at the bottom, Zazimash and Extendo Hugs pushing this one up pretty hard. It's at a little under 600 health. And at this point, obviously, Curse should be sending their own bottom lane down there. Singed, though, with his turret gone, is pretty much allowed to start to catch up in CS. 19 on Aurelia to 17 on Singed. Let's see, the only really big difference here is that because Liquid spent a lot of time up in the top lane trying to get that turret down, he's actually pretty far behind from Ahri. He's got 22 on the board right now against 40. Ahri's actually sitting pretty well at 1,600 gold total, whereas Vlad is just now barely getting to 1,600. So actually they're sending, okay, they're actually sending the AD carry and the support mid lane. Obviously they're going to lose this bottom one, so they don't want to really overextend themselves. Sending 2 players mid lane is going to be able to push this one down pretty hard, and they should be able to start keeping Ahri from getting a whole lot right now as well. Zazzy Mash and Extendo Hugs. Looks like they might be heading up towards the mid lane. Jarvan's heading up there as well. Looks like Aurelia is going to stay down there at bottom. Try to get some farm and get herself into the game right now. Here it goes. Quaker Oats actually ults in to get some damage on to Mega Milks. Mega Milks goes down. Tompu taking some damage in the back, but it looks like he's going to be able to get out with that overdrive. And there it is. But yeah, Curse ended up trying to send a couple of members mid lane to push this one down, but it looks like without vision coming up from bottom lane, they didn't quite see what was going on there. Suja, though, getting engaged on fully up at the top, having to blow his ghost once again. Liquid trying to get as much damage in as before his ult takes off, and it looks like it's just enough health to hold this one down. Meanwhile, Quaker Oats back at the mid, warding this one up, just trying to get some control over it. And it looks like Liquid's just going to keep pushing pretty hard. Blue buff or red buff pings going down on the top side. They should be getting ready here to hold something off, but it looks like they're just going to back out. And Curse isn't quite going to take that red buff just yet. They might be aware of the wards, though, so we'll see how that one turns out. Zazzy Mash and Quaker Oats in that mid lane. We've got Ezreal and Blitzcrank there as well. Just taking a look, though, Zazzy Mash actually gets completely grabbed in by Blitzcrank, taking a lot of damage, burns the cleanse, but the Ignite goes down just afterwards, so that it is quite a bit. But we do got to take a look, though. Misfortune right now, sitting on a BF sword and a long sword, so she's got a lot of damage, just raw damage straight up this early into the game. Ezreal still only really has a blood or a Doran's Blade as well as a Vampiric Scepter, but it looks like there we go. They are heading down towards that bottom lane. They don't quite want to lose that one just yet. Hubert did come back to mid or to bottom lane with a Vampiric Scepter, so he's going a lot for a sustain right now. It'd be rather interesting to see if he has the lifesteal. No, it does not look like it. We've seen a lot of Aurelia players lately start getting like lifesteal quintessences to match up with, especially since the Blade of the Ruined King nerf. Getting that early on is really, really important. Extendo Hugs getting a little bit of harass onto Hubert down in the bottom lane. He's going to have to turn around and kind of go the long way, take the safe route. But Suja up at the top, just trying to farm and get himself back into the game. 48 CS on Aurelia to 38 on Singe, so he's really having a tough time getting into this one. But taking a look in the jungle alone, let's see here. Jarvan at 2,400 gold to Nocturne at just under 2,400, so it's a pretty even game. I mean, obviously from the gold count, you can see 12,000 on Curse side to 11,900 for Factset. They're doing pretty well, considering the kind of pressure that they've been under from the blue team. I mean, taking a look, every time that they knew that 3 or 4 members were top trying to push that turret down, they just really kept the pressure onto bottom lane and put up a little bit onto mid as well. They were pretty careful to just not all waste their time and try to walk up and help something that you've already almost kind of lost. Even if you do save the turret, you're spending a lot of time losing creep score that you could be getting elsewhere. But it looks like Curse is trying to get some big advantage early on into the game here. Lulu might get caught out. Luis actually knocks him up just a little bit, but just not enough damage to follow up on that one quite yet. Meanwhile, down to the bottom, Singe is actually taking up the bottom lane, trying to farm himself back in. And it looks like Aurelia straight up rushed the Bilgewater Cutlass, going for a lot of sustain right now. Of course, you can't rush any really big, damage item. You can't rush your Trinity Force on Aurelia when you're running in a 2v1 lane. You're really kind of stuck behind, so you need to get something. At this point, he needs to get something just to get himself back into the game, get himself safely farming, for the next 10 minutes, and to get himself to scale quick enough for the team fights to start to happen. He'll be able to be useful, but it looks like Suja just pushing up the lane, trying to get a bit of CS and going back He's actually really, really far behind now, though. He can't really stay in lane, though, because with Aurelia having a Bilgewater Cutlass, he doesn't quite have the sustain to kind of outlast that. Especially since early on he took that red elixir, and it didn't quite turn out for him. That's 250 gold that he could have spent on something else to get himself back into it that he doesn't quite have just now. But it looks like Curse is going for the first dragon. Now there is, pings are going down, so they should be aware, and there's the ward. They're going to spot this one going down just yet. Suja popping the ghost, trying to land something on here. Curse is actually completely engaging onto this one. Zazimash gets caught out into the Cataclysm, but he's able to flash over the wall. Hubert getting completely focused down. Zazimash still alive onto that engage. Turns around, Liquid pulls out, trying to keep himself alive a little bit longer. Mega Milk's actually almost tried to Essence Flux over the wall. It just wasn't quite enough. A really, really solid engage there by Factset, completely aware that Jarvan was extremely low after that fight from the dragon. They completely saw that. They're like, hey, guys, we got to make something happen here now. We just lost dragon. We need to make sort of the difference in gold, and that's exactly what they did. 3 kills that net them from that fight were just enough to get themselves kind of, they kind of took back the lead that Curse took from getting dragon. While Quaker is pushing that mid lane up, should be heading back here pretty quickly. Zazimash actually buying a Bloodthirster 13 minutes into the game, coming back to the lane with that one. Pretty solid damage coming out from Misfortune right now. Looks like Ezreal's coming back with a Bilgewater Cutlass and a couple of daggers, so he could be going for a Blade of the Ruined King here pretty quickly. Now, with the Blade of the Ruined King hotfix, it may actually not. I don't know. I'm seeing him buy the Blade of the Ruined King specifically for the tankiness coming out from Singed. The only really big deal, though, is that you also have Misfortune. That's kind of a big contender that you have to worry about in these fights, as well as Ahri. It's not just like, you know, the carries are down and you can really focus down the tanks. There's a lot coming out from all facets of this one. So we'll see if that one turns out and pays really well for him soon enough. Now he does have the extra attack speed, though, so he's able to apply the passive on that one pretty quickly. But we'll see if this one helps him up. But it looks like Factset's pushing mid lane up pretty hard. Liquid is up in that top lane, putting the pressure onto it. Meanwhile, Hubert and Suja down at the bottom, kind of trading back and forth. Hubert taking a lot of damage down there at the bottom. Mid lane turret does go down. He looks like he is going to have to burn his flash to get away from the Singe. His ultimate is still up for a little while longer, but it looks like he's just going to push the lane. And Nuis comes in from the top side, turns around, lands a Cataclysm on him, and it's just enough to turn him around and fix that one up. So it looks like Curse picking up another kill here down in the bottom lane. But 2 kills to 4, 15 minutes into the game, 19,100 for Curse to 19,500 for Factset. Just taking a look, though, I mean, even with the lanes that we saw earlier on, you know, we saw them switch the 2v1s. Send the Curse sent their 80 carry and their support top lane. Taking a look, though, I mean, Aurelia versus Singed. Aurelia has 99 CS and Singed has 91. Kind of really the only big difference, though, is the jungle. And before 11 minutes, the jungle creeps really don't offer that much gold. So having a CS lead on a jungler really doesn't make that much of a difference. Kind of the big money comes from objectives, and it comes from assists and kills. It's kind of where that lies. But taking a look, though, Nocturne is heading down towards the bottom, and it looks like they're all just trying to keep this bottom lane turret. But there's 4 members here of Curse down on the bottom side. Nocturne is backing out, so they should see here. Yeah, there it is. Nocturne's going to stay into lane. You've got Misfortune up at the top, though, all alone. Looks like Zazimash is going to back out as well. Liquid being sent up at the top just to hold this turret off. Looks like he might have wanted to get something to happen there, trying to catch a Misfortune off guard, but it just wasn't in the cards for that play. But meanwhile, taking a look, you've got pretty much nothing going on across the map because they couldn't get that. Curse tried to get that bottom lane turret Looks like they engaged just a wee bit too early. If they had waited just a hair of a second longer, Nocturne might have been able to, or Nocturne might have backed at that point. They might have been able to fight something 4v3, but it would have been a really, really close fight as Ari and Lulu were still pretty much there. And Singe is starting to get pretty tanky here. Blade of the Ruined King coming out from Aurelia, and a Rod of the Ages coming out from Singe. But it looks like Liquid might get caught out here. Nocturne and Misfortune are coming up as well. Meanwhile, you've got Suja down at the bottom getting completely focused out. Hubert's going to pick up the kill there, but Liquid getting charmed into that bush. But it looks like, I don't think he's going to make it out of this one alive. He's just trying to focus this one down and try to take someone down with him, but it just wasn't enough. So trading 1-for-1, Liquid for Suja on the opposite sides of the map. Meanwhile, you've got Ezreal pushing up mid pretty hard, but I don't think he's going to continue pushing this one down. Quaker is just now coming back to mid lane. He does have a needlessly large rod, though. So Ari's going to start to... Ari's starting to deal a lot of damage. Looks like Vladimir is going for the sustain route. I mean, he's got... Liquid's got the Hextech Revolver, he's got the Seeker's Arm Guard, and he's going for the Cage's Lucky Pick, so he's going for a Will of the Ancients pretty much next off. Either that, or he's going for probably his, looks like maybe his Zonya's Hourglass, and just kind of using the passive from the Cage's Lucky Pick a little bit longer. But we'll see how that one turns around. Meanwhile, Dragon now has just spawned, and Factset looks like they're heading bottom trying to set this one up. It's going down pretty quickly. Nocturne's not quite there yet, but he's just now joining the team. And Aurelia's heading up to Dragon from the bottom lane. Nocturne ult comes in, but it looks like he can't quite get sight onto Ezreal just yet. He does go in straight for it. Meanwhile, Misfortune actually gets her ultimate canceled on the backside. Looks like Curse isn't quite handling this one just yet. Dragon Ball Z actually gets completely away from that fight. Liquid turning this fight around as well. Just trying to do a little bit of damage onto Factset, but I don't think he's going to make it away from this one. He actually jukes back from this bush, tries to land a pool onto it, and Extendo Hugs makes it out alive onto this one, picking up the kill with a Glitter Lance, and it looks like they're going to turn around and just take the Dragon from that fight. It all happened so fast, it was actually quite hard to tell. But Dragon Ball Z actually did an extremely good job there. He actually waited. He burned his ultimate, and it was just at the right time that Ezreal was in this bush. He couldn't quite get onto the back line that he just needed to. And Ezreal just kind of walked out of that bush at exactly the right second before the cooldown hit on his ultimate, and his passive would have gone away. But it was a pretty solid play there by Factset, turning that fight around. Would have thought that Zanzimash might not have been able to get that one, but Hubert actually completely focuses this one down. He turns around and gets an attack off onto the turret. Zanzimash actually almost makes it out alive onto this one. Hubert's going to have to flash out and just barely make it out. Kill pick up there onto the Aurelia down to the bottom side, though he's getting pretty low. And Singe didn't just now teleport to the mid lane, but it looks like 8 kills to 4 in favor of Factset, 27,000 gold to 25,400 in today's AHGL match. Looks like Nuis is down there at the bottom lane, just kind of pushing this one up. It looks like they want to get this turret down here on the bottom side. They're just trying to get any advantage that they absolutely possibly can. They did lose both of Dragons. Right, or they actually got the first dragon, but they turned around and kind of lost that gold advantage when they lost a couple of kills. But it looks like Factset's pushing up this mid lane pretty hard. Vlad's setting up to take his own to take the topside red buff. Misfortune just now walking by, but he's gonna see that it's just not quite there, so he's not really gonna go straight for it. He didn't quite have vision of that bush, so all he saw was an empty camp right there. If you'd have looked at the minimap, he would have seen the icon on it and expected something going on. But I think he just saw it and just went, well, I think it's gone. We're just gonna move on here and try to make something else happen. But 27,900 gold to 27,700. Pretty even game so far onto the map. Tompu actually pulling Singe into him, taking quite a bit of damage. And it looks like all 5 members from Factset are here. Now, Singe's teleport is down, but Liquid is pushing top lane up pretty hard. Meanwhile, Factset completely engaging onto this one. Ari tries to ult forward and land a charm onto Mega Milks, but it just wasn't quite enough. Suja getting ulted by Lulu. Top lane turret has gone down. Liquid is just not stopping this split push. Looks like they're giving up a turret for a turret, actually an inner turret for each other, and he's pushing this top side pretty hard. Let's see here. Curse is just trying to stop the backing from happening. Tapu tries to land a grab onto Ahri. It's just not quite there yet. And Liquid and Lulu at this point have backed out. Just taking stock of what's happening around the map. 134 to 131. So top lane or the bruiser lane at this point of Singed versus Aurelia is actually relatively even. The only really big difference though is the kills and assists. But if you take a look across the map, you know, Aurelia's not that far ahead. She's maybe a little bit, looks like 300 gold ahead at this point. But it looks like Vlad with 148 CS to Ahri at 117. The only really big difference there is that Ahri is 3-0-4, has not died yet this game, but has gotten quite a few kills. 3 kills at this right side, and then 4 assists as well. But it's pretty even in the gold so far. And across the map, you know, the biggest difference, I guess, right now we've got to point out is Misfortune and Ezreal. Misfortune at 137, but 157 on Ezreal. It's just not quite enough. Ezreal at 6,500 total gold, and Misfortune at 7,100. Now, he does have his Blade of the Ruined King, and he is working towards, it looks like, Last Whisper next, but we'll see how that one turns out. But Misfortune came back with a Bloodthirster and a Bilgewater Cutlass, so she's got a little bit more damage. Aurelia is actually split pushing up this bottom lane, and it looks like Factset is going to completely engage this one out. They know they've got to make something happen here. Liquid pops his ult, trying to dissuade the fight. Nocturne ult comes in. Mega Milks is actually extremely low. Dragon Ball Z picking up the kill on that backside. He's actually getting focused down as well. Looks like Nocturne actually will go down to the turret. But meanwhile, Aurelia picking up that bottom side second turret as well. And it looks like Liquid just trying to hold this one off as long as he can. He flashes forward, tries to get something out on Extendo Hugs. Quaker Oats actually shielded at just the right time from Lulu. He's going to stay alive, and they're going to straight up push this mid lane in. For an inhibitor. This could be a pretty solid point for Factset. 12 kills to 5, 24 minutes into the game. Hubert is actually just going in, and Suja flings Aurelia completely off the Lulu. Holy cow, that was exactly at the right time, holding this one off, but it looks like Hubert starting a fight here is just not quite enough. Zazimash, though, getting hit by the Ezreal ult, and Hubert gets hit pretty hard with the slow. Extendo Hugs just trying to slow this one down with the Glitter Lance. Suja trying to fling Aurelia back as she is able to land the Blade Surge onto him, and Ignite goes down. Suja gets picked off just then. Quaker Oats trying to land something onto this Aurelia right now, but it looks like Factset, though, they did get that inhibitor, so that was a really, really solid play. I mean, yeah, they lost Suja, they lost their top lane Singed, but he'll be back up in another 20 seconds. They might lose this turret, though, as no one's quite there just yet. Looks like Ezreal's coming back in, pushing this one up pretty hard. Liquid taking a couple of shots from that turret, and yeah. So at this point, I mean, you've got your middle lane inhibitor down. Your split pushing is not quite working. The idea with the split push is that they're trying to dissuade Factset from fighting, but Factset, being a really solid team, they're not really taking the bait. They're not really saying, hey, you know, we've got to worry about this, you know, Aurelia in the bottom lane or this Vlad in the top lane taking our turret, because we can just turn around and sort of take an inhibitor for free. Yeah, they're going to lose a couple of turrets from that, but they're going to get what they're going to gain with positioning from that is just quite a bit greater. But we'll see here on the top lane. Suja having to pop his ult, stay alive. Third dragon now has gone to Factset. That's 2 for them and 1 for Curse. But 12 kills to 6, 26 minutes into the game. 36,300 to 35,700. I mean, let's think about this for a minute. Although Curse has lost their mid lane inhibitor, they're actually not that far behind. Yeah, it's 12 kills to 6, but it's 36,500 gold to 36,100. The big difference between the two teams, obviously being A, map control. You know, you do have to worry about the super minions pushing this mid lane up pretty hard. But the bigger difference is where the money is on the teams. On Factset, most of the money right now is on the AD carry. You've got Misfortune with 8,400 gold, and then the second highest person with 8,000 on Singed for that tank side. Sort of the bigger difference for Curse, though, is most of the money is actually on Aurelia. She is kind of a big threat, but she doesn't quite have the sort of team fight damage that an AD carry does at this point in the game. So Ezreal being 600 gold down, I mean, it's not a huge amount of gold. It's not an entire item's worth of gold, but it is the difference, say, for another, you know, 10 attack damage or another 10 lifesteal at that. But, top lane Factset pushing this one up pretty hard. Meanwhile, Singed at the bottom lane. Suja does have his teleport right now. Hubert trying to fight something out here, just pushing this one off. And meanwhile, Nuis in the mid lane, just trying to hold off these super minions. Pings have gone down onto Baron. Curse is kind of worried about this one happening. Now, with Singed in the bottom lane, it looks like they might be trying to force something here, but I don't think they realize that the teleport is ready. Factset all just kind of hanging around here. Suja comes in with the teleport from right behind Baron, and Curse just immediately disengages. They didn't actually want to fight this one out. Interesting. Very good choice here. But Suja here pops the Ghost and his ult, trying to land onto somebody. Luis actually gets hit by the fling just before he's able to jump out of this one. He gets completely focused down, tries to land the Cataclysm, closing the gap here. You see Nocturne turns around, tries to land a kill. Suja picks up Luis, and Liquid's going to turn around, take out quite a bit. Ari's going to finish this one off onto the Aurelia, but it looks like Factset here completely engages this one out. Mega Milks turns around with the Ezreal ult. It's just not quite enough, as it doesn't hit the Singed just yet. But it looks like Quaker Oats getting grabbed by the Blitzcrank, pops his Zonias, but I don't think he's going to make it out alive on this one. He just barely dodges the Essence Flux, but auto attacks enough to pick it up. Meanwhile, Mega Milk's going to flash forward with the Arcane Shift, try to pick up anything else that they possibly can. Factset immediately had actually turned that fight around with Suja landing a fling. They got exactly where they wanted, but they overstayed their welcome, and Curse was able to just do a little bit more. Even though you kind of lost sort of your big major players in those fights, you know, that's not really where you want to be. Once they picked up a kill and sort of kind of established that lead, it might have been better for them to sort of take an objective, like force another Baron fight, everyone back, spend the money, and then try to force something else. Pushing that far forward and having everybody be low health, especially against something like a Vladimir who has a Zonias at that, it's not in a place where you really want to be. The bigger deal, though, is that Misfortune, once her ult goes down, they've kind of lost a lot of their teamfight capability. You know, Nocturne tried to land his ult onto Ezreal, but everyone from Curse was just so well put together and so on top of each other. He really couldn't catch someone out and force the fight that way. It looks like 41,400 to 41,500, 14 kills to 8. Even though, yeah, we're at kind of this situation where there's more turrets down. You know, you've got 5 turrets, or a 1 turret lead for Factset, and you've got, you know, 6 kills in the lead. It's just not enough. They don't quite have the creep score to deal with it. You know, you've got Vlad with 210 and Ezreal with 216. The person with the highest is Singed actually with 187 on Factset. So they're kind of falling behind onto that field, but they are just trying to take the advantages where they can get them with objectives. So they are doing pretty good with that one. But we'll see how these fights turn around. Now that Suja's teleport is down, and they did use it during that last fight, he actually has to stay here and try to make something happen on that side. They gotta patiently wait for his teleport to come back up again. It looks like Aurelia picked up a Warmogs after that Blade of the Ruined King, possibly going for a Randuin's next off, but we'll see how that one turns out. Meanwhile, Nocturne actually going for the tankier route, picking up a Locket of the Iron Solari and then a Warmog's armor as well. Hasn't quite gone for any cooldown reduction Other than, let's see, other than the locket, it hasn't gone really for, you know, like a brutalizer to sort of get into these fights and do a lot of damage. He's really just trying to zone somebody out. You know, even though he doesn't have the armor penetration and he doesn't have the straight up damage item, he's still, with how squishy that Ezreal is, he's still quite a big threat to him. Let's see, Nui's trying to land the flag down. They are able to work down this turret, and that is going to make it 5 turrets to 5. Quaker Oats ulting in. Suja trying to land forward and fling somebody out. He actually turns around, gets the Irelia. Misfortune in the backside, lands a really good ultimate across the entire team of Curse. It's just not quite enough. Extendo Hug's getting focused out, pulled in by Blitzcrank. Ezreal is able to turn around with the Arcane Shift and do a little bit more damage. Liquid turns this fight around. He's got a double kill onto that one, and it looks like Ezreal is going to go down. Dragon Ball Z and Suja turning this fight, and it looks like Vlad is the only one alive. He might be able to turn this one around, but the fear comes out from Nocturne, and that's just enough for them to pick up another kill and turn out an ace onto Curse. So that's 19 kills to 11. And it looks like Factset is just barreling down, going straight for this inhibitor. Looks like he's just using that Sin poison to clear out these minions, but they got to be really careful as Jarvan's about to come back up and Hubert's coming back up as well. I don't know if they're going to have enough time here to work this one out. He's trying to preemptively land the slow, and there it is. The flash forward from Nuis actually just tries to land onto anyone, but they were able to back at just the right time, and Factset were able to pick up the inhibitor onto that mid lane. Meanwhile, Factset, looks like they're going to have to back out right now. Of course, they're going to have to wait for Suja and Dragon Ball Z to get enough health into this one. Curse actually could use this to their advantage. They should actually be trying to fight for an objective here, as you do kind of have to worry about that one. Now, Suja does have his teleport, and Nocturne kind of has that ultimate, so they might be able to turn around in a fight really quickly, but they pinged down, saw that Lulu was there alone, or they're pinging down for wards as well, so they should be waiting for that, but I don't think this sight ward is in sight of that vision, so they're not going to be able to take that one down. Is really using the ult to clear down this bottom lane, just wasn't quite fast enough. Bottom lane turret has gone down, so that is 6 turrets to 5 in favor of Factset. 19 kills to 11, 48,500 gold to 48,700. With picking up that dragon. So it's a really, really, really even game. As far as the gold goes, it's just the distribution of where that gold is and the map control that they have from losing it. I mean, yeah, it's just a funny game, and it's obviously all based around team fights. It's all based around what you're doing as a team and how you're holding these ones out. Mega Milk's putting down another ward here. It wasn't quite spotted by the team. They're going to start to have these ward battles now. Both of the supports now have oracles, so they should be making use of these pretty quickly here. Ward's going down pretty much everywhere. They want to keep vision of this one. Factset actually turning around, pushing up this top lane pretty hard. All of Curse is just pushing up this mid side. They might actually turn around and try to defend here. Top lane turret has gone down, and there's the recall coming out for Curse. It's like only 3 of the members here. Aurelia and Jarvan haven't quite backed yet, but this top lane turret has gone down. That's 2 turrets up at the top lane. The inhibitor is starting to take a lot of damage. Suja popping the ult, trying to land onto someone. Megamilk is able to arcane shift out of the fling. Suja's actually turning around, taking a lot of damage, but they got the inhibitor. They should be able to just run and not quite force this one down, but Dragon Ball Z getting completely shut down by Curse. They're going to keep him and knock him up. This is just not quite enough of the tenacity that he needs to get away from these locks that Curse has. You know, you've got the stun, you've got the knock-up and the pull, and as well as Jarvan's knock-up. They've got a pretty solid team comp there for just holding people in fights, and that's just exactly what they need. Curse is actually going to turn around and pick up a Baron here, and I don't think Factset is going to be able to stop it. Ari is heading towards the bottom. Looks like he might split this one, or push this one out, but there's the Baron going down. for Curse, and that's actually going to give them a little bit of a lead. 53,200 gold for Curse to 51,700. So this is actually the biggest lead that we've seen all game when it comes to gold, and it's going to be on the side of Curse. Now, they did lose the 2 top inhibitors for it, so I hope that they can use this Baron buff to their advantage. But we'll see how this one turns out as this game progresses. It's just such a quirky game. Usually when you see big objectives like, you know, Baron go down and Inhibitor go down, it's usually on the same team just kind of really pushing small advantages for their victories. But Curse and Factset are actually so evenly matched in this regard. They're just tossing it back and forth. No one's really been able to grasp and get a massive you know, amount of leads. They're not taking small ones as a team at the same time. They're each getting small leads you know, alternately. And it's kind of where they're working this one out. Suja's actually just kind of waiting here into this bush. Hubert actually was able to back Ezreal, and Blitzcrank are headed up for the blue buff. I don't think anyone has spotted Factset here on the bottom side. It looks like they're just going to straight up push his bottom lane turret. Blitzcrank is backing out, and there's Liquid recalling as well. This might actually be a bad spot for their inhibitor. Luis is actually using his EQ combo to get over that wall. He's not going to have it for the team fight in just a second, but there it is, just back up. Liquid using that home guard, getting there pretty quickly. Ezreal's not quite there yet. They may actually be able to fight this one out, but it looks like they're just going to try to disengage off of this one, and I don't know that anyone's going to catch them off just yet. Su's just trying to keep back, keep anyone on his team from getting hit from the Blitzcrank pull, and Tompu's actually going to have to flash out and pop the Shurelya's to get his team out of there quickly. Ezreal, though, meanwhile, is just trying to hold this top lane turret off from the super minions. You know, this mid lane inhibitor has just come back, but there is another wave of super minions going to be barreling down onto this one. There should be, yeah, just that one super minion there pushing that mid lane down, and then bottom side, Factset's putting the pressure on. Now, Curse does have the Baron buff, so I don't think Factset can just win a straight up fight, especially now that Aurelia has a Guardian Angel on top of it. So she's got her Warmog, she's got her Blade of the Ruined King, and she's got her Guardian Angel. She's pretty much now kind of unkillable when it comes to it. You know, she's got a lot of health, she's got a lot of magic resistant armor, but she's got the lifesteal on top of it, and she's hitting for quite a bit too. So when it comes to these team fights, especially when Curse has the Baron buff and something like Vladimir with all of that damage from the Rabadon's Death Cap, the Hourglass, and then the Will of the Ancients, it's just, you can't really focus down on one person and kind of shut down these team fights. It's pretty evenly spread across the entire threat of Curse. But it looks like they're just going to turn around, not quite force a fight yet until Baron buff wears off, which it should be going down here pretty quickly. Probably about another 15 to 30 seconds before Baron buff goes away. And middle lane inhibitor has respawned. Top lane has not quite got there yet. So they are going to have to deal with that one pretty quickly here. But it looks like Singe coming back with a Haunting Guise and a Warden's Mail. So he's going for that Randuin's next up. Possibly could be going for a Liandry's for the threat of it, just kind of holding off on the Randuin, just taking the damage route. But that is going to have to keep him at a solid level with Aurelia, because you can't really ignore Singed either. He's just going to kind of get in and fling someone in your team completely out of position. That's not where you want to be. It looks like a taunt goes down on top of Aurelia. Blitzcrank popping the Aurelia is trying to force this fight out. Baron buff has just gone down now. Suja turns around trying to hold this one out, but Quaker Oath's getting completely focused down by Liquid. He turns around, the Fear lands on top of him. Suja's getting pretty low as well. Liquid's able to pick up another kill there. And Zazimash getting focused down on the side. Hubert is just completely tearing through this side. Extendohugs gets focused down as well, and this could be a really big upset for Factset. You know, you've got Curse in that middle lane, just pushing this one up. Yeah, there it is. They're going to push down this turret, and I don't know that they're going to. They're extremely low, and all of Factset is going to be up in another 30 seconds. So they've got kind of a very small time window here. Maybe they can push something up, but it looks like Liquid is just holding up this top lane inhibitor right now. And Mega Milk's getting focused down by the turret. Now, since Mega Milk's really only has this Blade of the Ruined King for the straight-up damage, they don't quite have the objective ability for this one, but it looks like they're just going to keep pushing this one in. Quaker Oats has just now respawned, and it looks like Curse is going to pick up an inhibitor on the mid lane and back out with the Shurelya's, but 63,800 gold for Curse to 56,000 for Factset. Curse is actually starting to get pretty solid leads in these fights, and it's mostly because of how these fights are working out. Suja was trying to force something here on the side of Factset, but the entire team wasn't quite there. Nocturne was on that bottom side in this bush just trying to catch somebody off guard, and Suja was in the front line, but you didn't really have anyone protecting Quaker Oats, and you didn't really have anyone protecting Zazimatch. I mean, yeah, you've got Lulu, and she's got that ultimate to be able to keep people alive a little bit longer, but having the singed fling to be able to peel someone off of your AD carry is a little bit more helpful when it comes to it. But it looks like Factset is just going to turn around and push up this mid lane inhibitor, and they might be able to force this one out. Suja really, really far forward. Nuise actually turns around, lands a Cataclysm on top of Ahri. She's going to have to burn her ult to get out of that fight. Misfortune gets completely focused down, and Curse just tearing through this team like an absolute monster. Suja gets focused down as well and caught out, and it looks like Curse here is going to turn around and just try to push up this mid lane once again. Extendo Hugs and Dragon Ball Z, the only ones alive from Factset. And it's just, it's kind of in a funny position. Curse has to always send somebody back to their base to keep from losing inhibitors and turrets, but it looks like they're just going to turn around and take top lane inhibitor. Now, they do have 30 seconds before Misfortune and Ahri are up, but even then, you still really don't have much to deal with because you don't have the Singed in that front line sort of mitigating all of that damage and kind of giving all that threat. But Curse here is able to pick up this top lane inhibitor and just turn this one around. Liquid actually taking quite a bit of damage. The Fear lands out on top of him. It actually does proc, and Hubert's actually able to turn around and try to land a stun onto him, but they're gonna keep this one alive. So Liquid's alive, the skin of his teeth, if that's the expression. But there it is. So it looks like Curse here is going to start working on the second Baron of the game. 44 minutes into the game, it's 19 kills to 19, 8 turrets to 8, and 68,000 gold to 58,000 gold. So Curse right now, actually with that Baron, has a little bit over an 11,500 gold lead on top of Factset, and that's all from, actually just taking a look, most of it is from creep score, because they're pretty even on dragons. They're even on turrets. The only really two big issues is that you know, you've got Baron, which is 300 gold each member to your entire team, and they got that twice now, so that's a really solid lead. And then on top of that, they've got creep score. You've got 341 on Vladimir to only 191 on Ahri, and then you've got 315 on Ezreal to only 206 on Misfortune. Kind of the biggest contender on Factset though is Singed with 252. So even he fell pretty hard behind. Hubert picking up the red buff, be able to stick on to people a little bit easier. But let's take a look at the item builds now, because we are 45 minutes into the game. Everyone is able to kind of get farmed up. Jarvan now is starting to work towards his Randuin's Omen for a little bit more tankiness. Tompu is just now almost picking up the Runic Bulwark. We're going to see Liquid here. He does have his Void Staff out, actually, so he's really dealing a lot of damage. Just now, Suja taking quite a bit from Ezreal. And Ezreal has his Warmog's armor, actually. He picked up Warmog's after he went for the Bloodthirster on that side, but it looks like there goes Nocturne, turns around with the ult, tries to land on top of Ezreal. He does land the Fear onto Liquid, but it's just not quite enough. He's able to get completely focused down. Quaker Oats gets turned around on as well, and it's just not quite enough. Suja actually might make it out alive onto this, but Hubert's going to turn around, just try to focus this one. Might be able to land the Blade Surge in time, but no, the Ghost and the ult is just enough. And it looks like Curse is actually going to go on with another win for the After Hours Gaming League, putting the score to... I'm actually not quite sure, but it's 21 kills to 20, and it looks like Curse is going to go on with another win for tonight's After Hours Gaming League match. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. My name is InsigmaTheory. You can catch me here on my stream, twitch.tv/InsigmaTheory, or you could follow me on the social network, the twitter.com/InsigmaTheory or facebook.com/InsigmaTheory.